I'm Jeff Warren from Massenburg Labs, founded by George Massenburg in the early 1980s, basically because he couldn't find recording gear that really met his ideal of what should be exhibited in any kind of analog peripheral devices. In the early 1980s, there weren't really a whole lot of peripheral companies out there, and George really wanted to do things that were transparent using discrete transistors, things that wouldn't color the audio in any way, shape, or form. And from this idea has sprung a whole line of products since 1982 and the company's founding. Been any number of products, most of which are still manufactured. The number of products that we have here on display are actually a small subset of those products. We'll talk a little bit about each one because they basically come from the same few basic devices that were originally designed, implemented by George. Most famously of all is the Parametric EQ, which is of course George's conception in the first place from the late 1960s, early 1970s. He and Burgess McNeil and Bob Mushaw had come up with the very first operational Parametric EQ and showed it at an AES show in the early 1970s. And we're still making a Parametric EQ very close to that today. The second device in line is actually the most modern descendant of the first Parametric. It's our Mastering EQ, which is a 5-band Parametric EQ. Parametric meaning that each individual band has individually adjusted cut and boost or level, individual adjusted frequency, and also a Q or sharpness control. And each of these are independent, meaning that they don't interact. That's sort of the basis of the Parametric EQ in the first place. This is the most highly developed of the Parametric EQs. We're using switches with discrete resistors. In each case, individual bands can be switched in and out, and there's also an individual bi-channel bypass as well. Various other units have used the same Parametric EQ topology, the most recent of which is our single channel, the 2032, which is meant and designed to meet the portable recording needs. It has a preamplifier with a high-pass filter as well, 4-band Parametric, which is the same Parametric as the standard GML units. The unique thing about this is that it has an internal power supply. All the other GML units have an external supply for low noise, for better thermal handling and such. But this has an internal power supply, preamplifier, 5 dB steps of gain from minus 10, or rather 10 dB to 75 dB of gain, with a fine switch as well, with a plus or minus 5 dB range. It's an insert point between the preamp and the EQ, so you can split these two devices apart, whether you want to insert something between them, or if you want to use the EQ and the preamp separately. It's a very nice device for on-the-go producers and that sort of thing. It's a very portable device. Basically comes from customers asking for a device that can be stacked 10, 12 in a rack and moved very easily without having to mess with supplies. I've already covered the Mastering EQ. The Mastering compressor is sort of the top of the line compressor, which is a very unique design, not the least of which is that we're using 3 individual detectors as opposed to every other compressor in the world that uses a single detector. This really allows you to optimize each detector for different types of signals. We have a peak detector, a fast RMS detector, and a slow RMS detector. So each one is really optimized for different signals with different transient content. This allows the user then, using the crest factor controls, to sculpt how the device acts across the dynamic range. And it really allows you to do transparent gain reduction without all of the side effects that we sometimes associate with compression. So this is one of the newer units that we have. A couple of other units that we have over on this other side are the HRT mixer, which is an old product that we're looking at relaunching in the future. It's a high-resolution line-level mixer. To date, it's only been line-level adjustment. However, we're looking at doing EQ, preamplifiers, and etc. And then below that's the model 2020, which is also a single-channel sort of a producer pack approach, which has a preamp, 4 bands of EQ, and a compressor. And these are the same EQ and compressor as in the standalone units, the basic units. And then the final unit that we have on display at the moment is the 8900, which is the standard compressor limiter, which is the basic same topology as the 2030, but just in the original tracking version. And basically what we're trying to do at GML is the same for every one of these boxes. We're trying to do everything very clean, very discrete, what we call transparent, which is a term that doesn't mean quite as much these days as it once did. But it's all discrete transistor, DC servos, and direct coupling. And I think that's about all we have to cover at the moment. If there are any questions, you can always contact us off of our website, which is massenburg.com. That's Massenburg with a U. And I think that's all.